My name is Max Carlson. I am the tech lead and the lead of the architecture group and the founding technical member of the GovStack initiative. And today we're going to talk about GovStack integration and how existing DPGs such as openIMIS can be integrated. First I'm going to step through a series of GovStack integration scenarios. The GovStack stack. Here is a brief overview. We have an information mediator, which is very similar to openIMIS. It's a little bit different because it's designed to allow you to connect facilities on the open internet. So you can connect securely connect different ministries or different state or even federal governments and have secure data interchange. And then running on top of that and on top of our security standards, we have common application building blocks such as e-learning, scheduling, marketplace, BI, workflow, et cetera. And then we have some core stack building blocks, right? Like identity, security, consent payments, and registration. And then on top of that, the idea is you build digital government services using these reusable building blocks. There are a number of building blocks, as I mentioned, that are, we're currently under development, including consent management, digital registries, et cetera, client case management. And so one of our focus areas has been, how do we bring existing DPGs such as openIMIS into the GovStack initiative? So one way is, just using API gateways, and this provides a way to bridge existing applications into GovStack through our information mediator. So this is, again, sort of like openIMIS, but it connects through the open internet. So it's a little bit different. One of the things we're working on is, how do we gradually bring something into GovStack? So over here on the right, you've got an externally managed system, and this would be something like an existing instance of openIMIS that's up and running, right? So we're actively working on connecting to the demo instance of openIMIS, right? And so what's involved is that we build an adapter that knows how to speak through our information mediator and talk to other GovStack instances. It handles things like protocol translation, data translation, authentication, any sort of filtering and aggregation logic. And the advantage of this is that the existing system doesn't really have to do anything, right? I mean, all we really need to know is what protocols are we speaking, what are the authentication methods. So with openIMIS, with the demo system, that's actually fairly straightforward and easy to do. We log in, we get an authentication token, and then we pass the authentication token back. So one of the other things that the information mediator does is it publishes an open API specification to the other building blocks. So other building blocks know how to talk to it, in this case, how to talk to openIMIS. So this is sort of the initial first step of integrating with GovStack. So when you look at becoming GovStack compliant, that's when you end up with a GovStack managed digital public good. And so in that case, we're effectively bringing the application logic in to a container. So it's really, the main difference is the packaging, right? So this would be packaged. We'd have a Docker image or Docker instance in a Docker Compose that is openIMIS, right? And then that's speaking to the same adapter that we developed over here. And then again, that adapter is exposing the open API surface area that the GovStack, other building blocks in GovStack system need to know about to communicate with and take advantage of openIMIS, or just the subset of the openIMIS APIs that GovStack needs. And then finally, once you go beyond the step of compliance, and so part of that is we define this standard, if you will, in terms of an open API specification that determines here is the way that you interact with openIMIS, right? And it could be, something a bit more generic, right? Like here is a standard for communicating with a social protection or a benefit administration or benefit payment system, which is really how we're looking at using it for to begin with. And then the third stage is where it becomes GovStack certified, right? And then in this case, we don't really have an adapter. We actually have the openIMIS source code. Everything is more tightly integrated, and there are some benefits to that. Like GovStack has very stringent security requirements. We do continuous security monitoring, so that's kind of a benefit of becoming certified. We'll do analysis, source code analysis, static analysis, analyze dependencies, make sure that the building block, GovStack certified building blocks stay secure. We look at things like source code licenses to make sure that the licensing is all okay and things like that. So we sort of do this continuous monitoring and building of the product just to make sure that it maintains the security requirements and licensing requirements for GovStack. So again, that level one essentially is that we want to connect an existing instance, right? So in this case, this would be like an openIMIS demo system, but we don't really have control over the target instance. Like the demo server, the openIMIS demo server, we don't really have control over that. And so in this case, and that's because it's being run by openIMIS. It's a different organization, has different technology choices, maybe some legacy obligations. But we can still connect it using an adapter, right? So we set up a building block instance with only the adapter gateway specific to the target system. Let me just turn off those annoying notifications. Okay, so and here's sort of a more detailed view of becoming, so that's kind of phase one, level one that I talked about earlier. Level two is when we link to an existing DPG. And so in this case, GovStack is managing the installation of the instance into the GovStack system, but it has no influence on the development of the DPG. So in this case, the only real requirement is that the DPG can be packaged as a Docker container. There's some clear commands that we can run inside that Docker container to, start, stop it, tear down, stand up like that. And then we can go ahead and then package it with the adapter inside of a single managed DPG instance. So, this could be a Docker Compose, and that involves packaging it, providing the adapter, right, that adapts to the information mediator, provides an open API specification so that the rest of the GovStack system knows how to talk to it, and that it's only talking to the rest of the GovStack system through this information mediator. And again, that's very similar to openHIM or openHIM, but it's has more stringent security requirements, allowing it to just be connected on the open internet. Okay, and so in this case, the organization wants a DPG, but they're not fully GovStack certified. So we set up an instance with a DPG and the adapter, which includes this information mediator, right? So at that point, it becomes part of the GovStack realm. All right, and then level three is where we turn an existing DPG into a full-fledged GovStack building block, right? And so, we're looking at going through these exact steps with openIMIS right now. And the challenge, I guess, is that you have to pass the GovStack certification requirements, right? So we need access to the source code. We need to be able to, so that we can do static analysis of the source code, make sure it's secure. We want to be able to build it ourselves, right? We don't want to be able to build it, package it in a Docker instance ourselves, and we want to have clear visibility into the licensing. And all of that requires that we have, at least access to the source code for the product, and it also, requires that the product knows how to, in this case, openIMIS knows how to speak through openAPI or Swagger. And it can provide an internal user interface as well. Most tools do, and that all that is all the communication in this case is not happening in the internet across the internet. It's only happening through the information mediator, and that helps us ensure that data interchange is secure, it's auditable, it's traceable. It effectively when this building block is agreeing to talk to this building block, it's effectively a contract. And what the information mediator allows us to do is legally enforce that contract, right? Among other things. So the road to level 1 here. So we're looking at specifically how do we integrate openIMIS into a social protection. So for a social protection use case, specifically for unconditional social cash transfer, right? So in this case, right, we're looking at having these first 3 or 4 steps be handled by a GovStack registration process, which has its own UI, has its own ability to handle front office and back office functionalities, which are pretty critical. This diagram here is based on the World Bank's official recommendation for how you do this sort of processing. And then once the benefits are determined, we onboard a beneficiary or one or more beneficiaries, right? And then that's provision. And then whenever there are payments, the idea is that payments and notifications would be sent out via GovStack building blocks, right? Similar to what you're doing. So, and here's kind of a picture of this, right? So these first 4 steps would be handled by GovStack. The determination and benefits of the service package would be handled by openIMIS. Notification onboarding would be handled by openIMIS, and then it would sort of pass that off and actually execute the payments, do notifications, and this continuous recurring cycle of management of benefits, deciding does the person still eligible for this, right? Responding to grievances if they decide to exit, dealing with that, tracking case outcomes. So all of these would be handled by GovStack, but we can still, using this level 1 integration that I showed earlier, we can still take advantage of openIMIS for determining the benefits, benefit package design, and then for notification and onboarding, and telling us, okay, well, here are the specific beneficiaries and here are the specific amounts that they should be paid, right? And that's where it kind of hands that information over to GovStack to continue with the rest of the process. Okay, so there's a bunch of potential use cases, right? And there's some links here. But these cover different styles of payments, right? Bank payments, non-electronic or cash payments, or direct payment based on a family relationship. So these are kind of 3 variations on the same kind of payment use case in GovStack. I believe there's lots of other ones, but I think this has the most direct alignment with openIMIS, and we're really super excited about our partnership with Uwe and the rest of the openIMIS team to help make this happen. This kind of talks about some of the specific openIMIS APIs that we're planning to use, right? So first thing is we're going to use the login API to get a JWT token. Then we'll use the insurance plan to get lists of products with details, right? And that'll be displayed to the beneficiary or to the person trying to enroll somebody. Here's sort of a menu of products that may apply to a person. Then we'll request a beneficiary enrollment once a few other steps have gone by. I showed that earlier in openIMIS. And so effectively, that's going to be creating registering a beneficiary, right? This might involve creating a new patient if one doesn't already exist, and then binding them to a contract or enrolling them, right? And then we're going to listen to the bill webhook from openIMIS to find out when we should actually pay a given beneficiary for a given product ID or a given benefit package, and then the amount that they should get paid. And then we'll take over and go ahead and execute those payments and send the appropriate notifications and log things on our side in order to make that happen. Here's another view of that, and it kind of talks about the series of steps that we're going through. Really, the first 4 are kind of GovStack, and then we start doing the handing stuff over. And then this notification onboarding is kind of a hybrid step, right? So we listen for the invoice event or the bill event, and then we map the beneficiary ID to notification addresses and notifications, and then also map the payment amount to the appropriate payment method for that beneficiary and execute the proper payment, right? And so then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and map the payment modality and then send the messages there, right? openIMIS will receive payment notifications to update the bill status as well. So that's something else that that we didn't really cover in the previous slide. So that's kind of a brief overview of how we're going to initially do this. And one thing about this is the open APIs that we expose on the GovStack side may be quite a bit less granular, right? So for instance, we're probably going to hide the necessity that adapter that I showed you early is going to transparently know how to log in and request a JWT token to do either of these requests. So it's going to be quite a bit less granular and a bit more kind of task oriented. There will be a single open API or Swagger API call you can make to request a beneficiary enrollment. It'll just be a single API call, and it'll take care of automatically registering the patient if one doesn't exist, looking up the payment if they do, kind of upserting the patient, and then binding them to that contract if they aren't already. So it'll be kind of one step from the GovStack side. And then here will just be a single kind of callback, as I mentioned. So it's what we'll end up with is a really nice kind of simple API that allows you to get a list of list of products, and then request a beneficiary enrollment, and then be notified when a beneficiary should be paid. Yeah. So anyway, that is about it. Any other, I guess I'd like to open it up for questions if anybody has any that they'd like to ask.